So just at a high level, when you sort of are sorting through all of this, what are you seeing that is further confirmation of this Israel, Epstein, Mossad, CIA, cabal connection here?
Yeah, so as we talked about last time, Rothschilds has been doing this ongoing series of investigations on the connection between Epstein and the Israeli government and Israeli security services and Israeli private firms tied to the security services, which are very heavily involved in the tech sector and tech surveillance and so forth. Epstein was a very critical node in all of that. So, I'll tell you that our previous stories were based on the very, very limited Epstein file releases that had happened beforehand, but also some involuntary releases that took place because some hackers online had hacked former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and hacked one of Epstein's old inboxes for a certain time period. And then we were able to see this very voluminous and far-reaching relationship that Epstein evidently had with not just Barak, but a wide range of figures and institutions in the Israeli political and security establishment. He was a very critical node in all of that. And, I've said this many times. People ask me, was Epstein a Mossad agent per se? I think that in reality, his stature and the role he played was in many ways far above that. If you look at his conversations with Barak, who at this time was one of the most influential people in the Israeli political and security establishment, he'd been the prime minister. He was the defense minister during part of their conversations. He was really looking up to Epstein. He was looking up to Epstein for help. He was trying to get his attention. The power dynamic was quite discernible in their interactions. So it was really, Epstein was kind of above, any institution like that per se, but he was a resource and a critical node that they actually relied on for connections and help and for money and political purposes and to spread their influence globally and so forth. So I suspect that these files, which, again, we haven't had a chance to go through in great granularity and really to extract the true meaning out of them does take some time to kind of put them chronologically together and see what the meaning of all the conversations were in context. But I do suspect that they will point more of this. Now, I have been looking at that conversation that you referenced earlier with Barak and a third figure who, we have some theories of who it is, but we'll not share them yet. But I think someone people probably know very well. I do think that points to even more detail about what Epstein was doing. And I think the one thing about these documents is that they're going to help us do a lot more stories about this Israel connection soon because they filled in the gaps from some of the things that we weren't able to nail down before. And I think we'll see a lot more stories about Epstein's influence through Israel in many countries around the world, including in many countries in Africa, Central Asia, and obviously in Europe and North America and Russia as well.
And what do you make of him sort of filling in Ehud Barak about it? Why does he need to know this? If if Palantir is going to do what they're going to do, he needs him to know about Peter Thiel. Why bring this guy who is legacy leadership in on this if they're just going to, why? What do you, I'm asking you to guess.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because at this time, Ehud Barak was leaving public service. And in Israel, and like many countries, when politicians leave public service, they want to try to leverage the access they got in office to make a lot of money. And in making a lot of money, often still pursue the same political goals that they did in office, or whatever ideological goals they had, but try to make money as a private citizen in tandem with that. So what Epstein was doing for Barak at this time was he's helping build him up as this tech security mogul. And as you can tell, Barak didn't even know what Palantir was at that time, so he probably didn't really have that much of a background in the field. He was someone who's focused. He was a defense minister and so forth. He was a professional soldier at one point in his life and politician.
Well, also, to be fair, right, most people didn't know what Palantir was at that point. And they had really just kind of secured their CIA funding at that point, which... You know what I mean? So most people didn't know about it. And here he is speaking about it as if he has some sort of CIA insider knowledge, passing this on to Ehud Barak.
Yeah, it's very notable for that reason. You're right. And one thing that I've seen in these email archives and some of the other leaked archives that have come out over the past year or so, and has been reported by a few other places, smaller outlets as well, too, is that Palantir, sometime around this period, was attempting to hire the Israeli ambassador to the UN directly out of his role at the UN, Ron Prosor. So, there was some very intimate relationship between the Israeli political establishment, security establishment with this company, which, as you mentioned, also has ties to the American intelligence establishment. So Epstein's interest in it is not surprising to me in a way, because he was very invested and interested in this idea of surveillance technology. And he was a very intelligent and forward-thinking man in some ways, in the sense that he was plugged into all these networks, and he was trying to shape the technological environment that we would see in the years to come through his access to intelligence resources, and also the money he could draw upon.